Finally, hi guys. Shashank Gupta at iQuanta welcomes you for the CLAT 2027 and quickly join in so that we can have lots of talks about how the paper is going to be and what all is to be done. Fine. First thing first, can you just let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, who all are here? Let's have a chat. Right. So, um, So what we have in plan for you is that we are going to do the very basic thought process today. That is going to be the introduction of reading comprehension, right? And what we do in that is we are going to understand what kind of questions are going to be there, what kind of passages you would look forward to, and a bit of nitty gritties around the paper, right? Especially the VARC section. Fine. So coming to it, so we start with the introduction to CLAT RC, right? Move on. The length of the paper, the length of each passage is going to be somewhere around 450 to 550 words, right? Now that is actually a big problem for us. Why? Because when we have got this big passages, what happens in that? The reading time, fine? It takes a lot of reading time, fine? And uh, when you are practicing them, like I would say, कई बार तो ऐसे होता है कि आप देखेंगे कि when you are doing the paper you don't get the time to read everything. More than that, you become so very exhausted that you are not able to do all the questions. Fine. तो ये सारी चीज़ें भी हमारे को थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, समझना पड़ता है कि कौन सा करना चाहिए, कौन सा नहीं करना चाहिए, ठीक है ना? Difficulty is not that much. 12th standard level, though I would give it a bit of like thoda sa or extra. Okay. But with high density, the paper is quite dense, the passage is quite dense, and okay, so we have got hi Anshu, hello, fine, and legal adjacent reasoning, fine. So legal adjacent means something which is more towards legalities and other stuff, right? थोड़ा सा रीजनिंग की तरफ भी हमारा जोर रहेगा इसमें, ठीक है? You must move from reading to active processing. So if you are actually planning to go across with this kind of a paper, then you should always think of what? You should always think of active processing. अब ये active processing क्या है? हम तो रीड कर रहे थे, वही हमारे लिए बहुत था। अब अचानक से ये एक्टिव प्रोसेसिंग का मतलब क्या हो गया? So when we are talking about active processing is when we read something and at that very point we start, processing the whole thought process, as in where exactly it is going to head to, right? जैसे कि तीन चीज़ें हमारे दिमाग में हमेशा रहनी चाहिए, ठीक है? What is it? पहला कि what is the theme of the passage, right? What theme are we covering when we are using these kind of thought process? The second part is the function. You know what? Every word, every fact, every sentence that has been written out there in the passage is for a reason, right? And you need to catch hold of that reason. You need to understand why has the author written that. क्योंकि अगर हमें ये नहीं पता होगा कि उन्होंने लिखा क्यों है, then it is going to be a big problem to understand the whole thought process revolving around the thing, ठीक है? And the last part is catch hold of the tone, ठीक है? अगर आप थीम, फंक्शन एंड टोन, ये तीन चीज़ें अगर आप पहले से पकड़ना शुरू कर लेते हैं, तो फिर व्हाट रियली हैपेंस इज इट गिव्स यू अ बेसिक विफ ऑफ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द पैसेज। अब एक बार ये मिल जाता है, फिर उसके बाद दूसरे जो क्वेश्चन है वो आराम आराम से आएंगे, ठीक है ना? राइट, ओके। Hi everyone, whoever is present out here. I hope let's keep it very interactive because अगर हम interaction करेंगे तो फिर it's a two-way communication and what would happen is हम समझ पाएंगे एक दूसरे की बात. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. If I can ask you a question, you may answer that so that what would happen is I would understand कि आपको समझ में आ रहा है. ठीक है ना? चलो आगे चलते हैं. So what are the common types of passages? एक बार इनको देख लेते हैं जल्दी से. CLAT passages aren't random. They generally fall into four buckets. चार buckets होते हैं इसके. पहला जो होता है that is philosophical और abstract. ठीक है ना? जैसे कि आप philosophical की अगर बात करते हैं तो क्या आता है? Existentialism or maybe ethics we are talking about or some kind of logic we are talking about. ठीक है ना? तो ये सारी जो चीज़ें होती हैं they come under your philosophical or it is also called as abstract. Something which is intangible, right? Focus on the definitions. यहाँ पे definitions क्या हैं? Because many a time you don't even know what is the meaning of the word existentialism, but it would be generally mentioned in the passage and it would be easier for you to catch अगर आपने उसको अच्छे तरीके से प्रोसेस कर लिया समझने में. ठीक है? Provided by the author. Next चलते हैं narrative and literary. This is something we always love to do. Why? क्योंकि narrative is more or less a storyline, right? There will be a storyline out there जो आप आराम से उसको कैच कर लेते हो and you understand that what is happening out there. ठीक है? Excerpts from novels और biographies. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो सकता है? किसी novel में से या किसी biography में से they'll just take out a part. Excerpts मतलब extracts and in through them they are going to ask the questions. Focus on the tone and the protagonist's emotional arc. मतलब क्या हम बात कर रहे हैं? We are talking about his tone. So जो भी उसका मूड चल रहा है, जिस तरह से वो लिख रहा है, that is more important for us to catch hold of, right? सोशियो लीगल. ठीक है? सोशियो मतलब सोशल हो गया, लीगल मतलब लॉ, एनीथिंग टू डू विद लीगैलिटीज और समथिंग लाइक दैट. इश्यूज लाइक जेंडर राइट्स हो गए, क्लाइमेट लॉज हो गए, टेक्नोलॉजी हो गया. सो दे ऑल वुड कम अंडर सोशियो लीगल. ठीक है? यहाँ पर क्या आता है? कुछ क्लेम्स दिए जाते हैं. ठीक है ना? एंड सपोर्टिंग एविडेंस. ठीक है? तो सपोर्टिंग एविडेंस मतलब जिससे कि वो एग्जाम्पल देकर आपको इलस्ट्रेट कर रहे हैं. दे आर ट्राइंग टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड कि हाउ इट गोज, वॉट इज बींग टॉक्ड अबाउट. ठीक है? नेक्स्ट पार्ट, ओपिनियन एंड एडिटोरियल्स. सो व्हाट आर ओपिनियंस एंड एडिटोरियल्स? जहाँ पे उन्होंने परसुएसिव पीसेस, परसुएसिव वेयर द पर्सन इज परसुएडिंग यू, he's trying to tell you, he's trying to take you in his corner, right? From newspapers like the Hindu or the Guardian, or it can be many other like them. So we have to understand what is the main argument in that. ठीक है? And the counter arguments. तो इसमें बहुत सारे arguments हो सकते हैं. You need to catch hold of all of them in order to understand कि हमारा question कैसा है, क्या बोलना चाहता है. ठीक है ना? तो ये चार चीज़ें. So whenever you are practicing, what is the need of knowing all these things? Because when you know that what is to be practiced. ठीक है ना? Let's not go about here and there and do random things. हमें वो वाला प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए जो हमें ऑलरेडी पता है कि इतना प्रैक्टिस तो हमारे को करना ही है, ये सारे हमारे को करने हैं. ठीक है? लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट वन. कॉमन क्वेश्चन टाइप्स. व्हाट आर द कॉमन क्वेश्चन टाइप्स? जब भी हमने अभी तक जो देखे हैं लॉ के अंदर, हमारे को क्या क्या दिखा है? एक तो हमारे को दिखा है मेन आइडिया, फिर हमारे को दिख रहा है सेंट्रल थीम. ठीक है? सो वी हैव गॉट मेन आइडिया एंड सेंट्रल थीम. क्वेश्चन क्या रहता है जनरली? व्हाट इज द प्राइमरी पर्पस ऑफ द ऑथर? पर्पस क्या था, लिखा क्यों भाई साहब ने. ठीक है ना? सेकंड जो आता है दैट इज गोइंग टू बी आर या अंशु, इफ यू मेक नोट्स दैट वुड बी वेरी गुड. फाइन. एज अदरवाइज जो हमारी क्लासेस चलती रहेंगी तो आई विल ऑल्सो बी प्रोवाइडिंग यू विद दी पीपीटीज और द पीडीएफ्स एंड यू कैन प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम देयर एज वेल. ठीक है? तो ये सारा आपको मिल भी जाएगा. ठीक है? इन्फ्रेंस बेस्ड. ठीक है? सो इन्फ्रेंस बेस्ड में क्या होगा? व्हाट कैन बी कंक्लूडेड फ्रॉम पैराग्राफ 3, समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो उन्होंने बोला कि पैराग्राफ 3 में बहुत कुछ लिखा हुआ है. व्हाट डू यू कंक्लूड फ्रॉम दैट? ठीक है ना? लुक फॉर व्हाट इज इम्प्लाइड बट नॉट एक्सप्लिसिटली स्टेटेड. सो व्हाट डज इट मीन एक्सप्लिसिट? एक्सप्लिसिट इज समथिंग विच इज डायरेक्टली स्टेटेड. ठीक है ना? दैट द कलर वॉज ब्लू. ठीक है? तो ये तो साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है. सो दैट वुड बी कॉल्ड एज एक्सप्लिसिट. But when I say implied, so implied is generally not stated directly. It is something that after reading, you understand that, okay, fine, this might be what the fact be. ठीक है ना? तो दैट इज वाई दीज आर कॉल्ड एज इन्फ्रेंस बेस्ड, ठीक है ना। वोकैबलरी इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट, अच्छा ये तो हमारे बहुत फेवरेट क्वेश्चंस होने चाहिए। वाई? बिकॉज वोकैबलरी जो आपको जनरली नहीं आता, लेकिन अगर आप अपने किससे पढ़ो, अगर आप अपने आरसी में पढ़ो या फिर अपने पैसेज में पढ़ो, पैराग्राफ में पढ़ो, इट बिकम्स ईजी व्हेन यू आर ट्राइंग टू डिड्यूस द मीनिंग contextually, so it becomes easier. So vocabulary in context is something, क्वेश्चन कैसा होता है, द वर्ड एक्स इन द सेकेंड लाइन मोस्ट नियरली मीन समथिंग लाइक दैट, ठीक है। Then we have got tone and attitude questions, which is like, which of the following describes the author's stance towards X? Stance means what is his stand, ठीक है ना, कैसे देखता है वो, what is his tone, ठीक है। जैसे कि cynical हो गया, laudatory हो गया, objective हो गया। Can anyone tell me what is cynical? What exactly does cynical stand for? Or laudatory, objective, what do they stand for? Anyone who can tell me about cynical? Objective मतलब तात्पर्य, my god, yes, okay, fine, but तात्पर्य is something else, I believe, ठीक है। So Anshu, why don't we think in English? So what is objective? Objective is something where he is basically more towards facts or information, right? Info, but he does not have any kind of uh, bias towards it, right? He's not laudatory का, no idea, okay। लॉर्ड से देखते हैं, हमारे पास एक वर्ड है, द वर्ड इज LAUD, and then we add, so what is the word? The word is applaud, है ना। applaud का मतलब क्या होता है? To praise someone. So laudatory का मतलब क्या हुआ? Praise someone, ठीक है ना। तो अगर मैं laudatory बोलता हूँ उनका क्या tone, then what kind of tone is it? The person is praising everyone, ठीक है। cynical का मतलब क्या हुआ? What is the meaning of cynical? Cynical is doubtful, when everyone is doubting, ठीक है। तो हम किसी को डाउट करते हैं तो वी आर सिनिकल टूवर्ड्स हिम, ठीक है ना। तो दीज आर द थॉट प्रोसेस। फिफ्थ वन देखते हैं, स्ट्रेंथनिंग एंड वीकनिंग। विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इफ ट्रू वुड मोस्ट वीकन द ऑथर्स क्लेम इन लाइन 12, ठीक है ना। तो अब इसमें क्या हो गया, जो ऑथर का क्लेम है, जो ऑथर का आर्ग्यूमेंट है, उसको अगर हमें क्या करना है, वीकन करना है, तो हमें क्या लगाना पड़ेगा। सो देयर वुड बी फोर ऑप्शंस एंड यू हैव टू फाइंड आउट विच वन इज व्हाट, ठीक है। अब हम चलते हैं इसके नेक्स्ट पार्ट में। देखिए, रीडिंग अगर करना है तो यू शुड हैव अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग थॉट प्रोसेस हाउ टू रीड। फर्स्ट थिंग, यू नीड टू लर्न हाउ टू रीड स्मार्ट, ठीक है ना। आपका रीडिंग बहुत स्मार्ट होना चाहिए। द फर्स्ट एंड लास्ट रूल, रीड द फर्स्ट एंड लास्ट सेंटेंसेस ऑफ एवरी पैराग्राफ विद 100% फोकस, ठीक है। क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं वो हमारे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, इट वर्क्स फॉर अस, ठीक है। दिस यूजली रिवील्स द स्केलेटन ऑफ द आर्ग्यूमेंट, ठीक है ना। सो वी अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द आर्ग्यूमेंट बाय रीडिंग द फर्स्ट लाइन एंड द लास्ट लाइन ऑफ एवरी पैराग्राफ, ठीक है। मतलब ये तो अच्छे से पढ़ना है, ठीक है। ओके, लेट्स सी। ओजस्विनी, you can take out your registers and write it down, or I will provide you with the PDFs and you can go through that, ठीक है, that way also, okay। And hi Ojaswini, are you a CLAT student? Structural signposts, circle words like however. So always remember, there are some signposts. What are these signposts? How the things are turning, right? How are the things turning? Like we have got however, we got therefore, then we have got a word like conversely, then there is a word like moreover, okay. Oh, yes. Okay, Anshu. Yes. Fine. So, however, therefore, conversely, moreover, all these words, they are basically what? They help us to understand what the tone or what the argument would be after that, right? So, if it is however, what would I be? So, however, would be telling me, I have been there. Yeah, Ojaswini, I already know that. Fine. Okay. So, right. So, पढ़ लेते हैं बच्चों. However, क्या होता है? However tells us about a contrast, right? कि इसके बाद जो भी आएगा वो opposite चला जाएगा, right? Therefore is basically giving us a conclusion, right? So, when I want to conclude something that I have said this, therefore I believe this is happening. So, it is talking about the conclusion. Conversely is again, conversely is almost like contrast, right? It's almost the same thing. Fine. On the other hand, we have one moreover, and what does moreover do? Moreover talks about the same idea, right? So, this one is same idea, same tone, same idea, and things of that sort. Yes, yes, Anshu, it seems your Hindi is getting better as always. These indicate a change in direction or a conclusion. Fine. Next, mental summarization. What after every paragraph, pause for 2 seconds and ask, what did the author just try to prove? अगर ये कर लिया ना तो आपको कभी भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी बिकॉज यू सी व्हाट रियली हैपेंस इज व्हेन यू रीड व्हाट हैपेंस यू नीड टू रिग्रेस है ना कई बार तो ऐसे हो जाता है कि हर क्वेश्चन में मेरे को रिग्रेस करना पड़ता है हर क्वेश्चन में आई हैव टू गो बैक एंड चेक कि मैंने क्या लिखा है क्या वो सही है नहीं है ठीक है ना क्या मैंने वो सही आंसर था बिकॉज यू डोंट रिमेंबर व्हाट इज रिटन आउट देयर इन द आरसी राइट सो द बेस्ट थिंग टू डू अबाउट or go about with it is to actually check out what is the author trying to prove when he wrote what he wrote ठीक है नेक्स्ट इग्नोर द फ्लफ फ्लफ क्या होता है एक्स्ट्रा डाल रखा है उस चीज़ को वर्बोस किया गया है उस चीज़ में एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन है विच माइट बी ऑफ नो यूज टू यू ठीक है ना जैसे क्या वी हैव गॉट स्टैटिस्टिक्स डेट्स लॉन्ग लिस्ट ऑफ नेम्स और आर रेयरली द आंसर्स दे आर जस्ट एविडेंस तो उसको सिर्फ इलस्ट्रेशन की तरह यूज़ किया गया है फोकस ऑन द क्लेम द एविडेंस सपोर्ट्स सो दैट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट क्लेम ठीक है ना सो द क्लेम when I write something, more importantly, it is like what is the person trying to claim by saying so. ठीक है ना? India has sent thousands of spacecraft in spacecraft in the space. Okay, in the orbit of the solar system. Something like that is written across. Okay, so what is the claim of this line? Is it about a number? Is it talking about thousand? Is more important for me? So, what is the claim of this? Can anyone tell me? What is this line actually claiming? क्या समझ में आ रहा है हमारे को इससे India having satellites in large number. Okay, good. Moreover, we can say like India is doing pretty well when it comes to space technology, right? We can say that, right? But then again, it cannot go over, right? It has to remain up to a certain level, right? That is what we are going to understand in the next part. ठीक है, very good Anshu. Yes, India having satellites in great numbers, this is one way, but in that case you are just talking about, you're just paraphrasing whatever is written out here. What I'm trying to say is इसके अलावा और क्या बोल सकता है ये, तो हम यहाँ पे ये भी बोल सकते हैं that India is doing well in space technology, right? And this part is basically the claim of what he's saying. ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं. Now let's learn about how to eliminate, because when you are doing these kind of questions, the most important part is don't, I'll just write it down, don't find the answer. First part. Second part, eliminate the options. Fine. If you eliminate the options, then automatically remember the answer would come to you on its own, right? And of course, in that case, the accuracy would be very, very high, very much better than anything else, right? So let's see, what are the tricks to eliminate? So, first thing, it's called an extreme trap. Options containing words like all, never, always, only, none, these are usually wrong. So, what did I say? Usually wrong, which means not every time, but yes, generally they are wrong. Fine. If it says like men in India are what? Sense sensible? Huh. Okay, fine. Men in India are preparing for betterment. Okay. Next, men in India tend to fight for their rights. Okay, fine. So out of these two, can you tell me which one would be for all the men in India? Can can we ever say all the men in India in any of them? Very good. So all का we can't claim, but in which one, Anshu? इनमें से किसी एक में हम use कर सकते हैं all, if you look at it carefully. See, when I say men in India are preparing for betterment, which talks about men in India, which means like every man in India, right? Every man in India is preparing for better men, which means like this can still go for thought process of all. But when I say men in India tend to fight, which means like tend to, it means like not all of them, some of them. So this one cannot be all. Okay? So this part goes away. Men in India tend to fight for their rights, which means like some of them fight for it, some people don't have to fight for it, and some people don't even know how to fight. So can be anything. So we cannot have all out here. ठीक है, तो वो हमें देखना पड़ेगा कहाँ पे all लग सकता है और कहाँ पे all नहीं लगेगा, ठीक है। ओके, yes, because tend is like habit, tend is like probability, tend is like maybe, anything, है ना। ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं। Options containing words like all, never, always, only, none are usually wrong. Legal reasoning is nuanced. It rarely deals in absolutes. So it is not generally absolutes. Absolutes का मतलब हो गया सब, सब कुछ, ठीक है ना। तो extreme points में हम कभी बात नहीं करते, ठीक है। If the passage says many politicians are corrupt, can I say all politicians are corrupt? We can never say that because many does not mean all. Many means a certain share of it, right? A certain part of it, but not all of it, right? So this is something. So always remember about this extreme trap. Important. Let's move on to the next one. This one is called as the out of scope trap. Out of scope trap का मतलब क्या हुआ? The option sounds logically true in the real world, ठीक है। So option तो सुनने में अच्छा लगता है, but the passage does not mention it, right? So Gandhi is the father of nation, of the nation, ठीक है। ये ट्रू हो सकता है, ये ट्रू हो सकता है किसके लिए? जनरल नॉलेज के लिए, करंट अफेयर्स के लिए, ठीक है ना, आपके नॉलेज के लिए। बट this is only true if it is mentioned in the passage. If it is not mentioned in the passage, then we are not going to take it. Understood? Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's move on. So out of scope is given across. तो out of scope में हम क्या करेंगे? हम कभी भी क्या नहीं करेंगे? We are not going to read something. We can read them, and you know the trap is like they would use all the words out there. ठीक है ना, वो सारे के सारे वर्ड्स लिखे होंगे, गांधी माइट बी रिटन, फादर माइट बी रिटन, नेशन माइट बी रिटन, सब कुछ लिखा होगा। आपको दिखने में यही लग रहा होगा कि हाँ यार ये तो आंसर है, क्योंकि ये तो लिखे हुए थे, ये वर्ड लिखे हुए थे। बट रिमेंबर, even after the same words are being used that are used in the passage, not necessarily that they have to be a, like they have to be an answer. It can very well be something which is totally out of the scope, okay. Next, the half right half wrong trap. What does that mean? The first half of the option is a perfect match to the next to the text, but the second half adds a tiny detail that isn't true, ठीक है। तो इसीलिए रीड द एंटायर ऑप्शन बिफोर मार्किंग, इसलिए पूरा ज़रूर पढ़ना, आधे अधूरे में मत छोड़ कर आ जाना, ठीक है ना। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट दिस इज, ठीक है ना। नेक्स्ट इज द verbatim trap. What is verbatim? Sometimes an option uses the exact same words as the passage, as I said, but changes the context, and this time the context is changing, also called as the distortion, ठीक है। So don't be seduced by familiar words. Look for the meaning. Try to understand the meaning, how it is being used, the wordplay, and everything plays a mighty trick, right? And now, for the final thing, we have a small passage. So, how we are going to go about is, from this week on, we are going to have 1 to 2 sessions of RC, and we are going to practice them. Fine, we are going to practice the RCs, and I'm going to give you uh, different types of RCs, right? Can be philosophy, it can be legal, some legal case, some legal RC, fine, law based, abstract, narratives, and whatnot. Any type of RC can come across. We'll start with small ones, grow our uh, 2 sessions daily. No issue, not two in a week actually. We are talking about two in a week right now. So small to big RCs, right? And then accordingly we are going to see where we stand. Fine. Our main motive would be to reach to a 100% score. Okay. So for today, let's see. I'll give you, because this is the first time, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes to read this and then we'll go to the question. Very good, Anshu. What about the others? Have you all read? So, Anshu, what was the read like? How was it? Was it easy, difficult? Okay, so you had to revisit. Perfect. So, active reading. Let's try to read this again. For understanding what exactly it wants to convey. Yes, so sometimes it does happen that way. So let's see what we can do. The doctrine of president is the bedrock of common law. Fine. So the doctrine of president is the bedrock of common law. Fine. Understood. Ensuring that judicial decisions are not merely isolated events but part of a cohesive, predictable legal tapestry. So they are talking about judicial decisions and they are not saying that it is, they are saying it's not isolated, it's part of what? Of a predictable legal tapestry. Predictable means like, okay, we know the outcome, we somehow understand what the outcome would be. Okay? However, the rigid application of stare decisis the, now, if you don't know stare decisis, it is already given across with a hyphen after it. The rule of following decided cases. Fine. So stare decisis means the rule of following decided cases. So there were already some cases out there, and whatever the decisions were in those rules, in those cases, would stand as the rule for the next number of cases that whatever would come across. Okay, often risks fossilizing the law. With this, what happens? The law is fossilized. Fine, and somehow we don't know how to come out of it. Fine, how? Because it becomes unresponsive to evolving social mores. Fine. Yes, Anshu, very good. Uh, when a court is tethered is hooked, okay, or tied down to an archaic ruling, okay. So when it is tied to an archaic is something which is old, ancient, right? It may uphold stability at the cost of substantive justice. So I can very well see, connect to what the author's viewpoint is. Fine, he very happy about it? No, he's not very happy with this kind of a ruling. He rather feels that it is quite archaic, right? And also that if we do that, what would happen? Substantive justice would be sacrificed, right? So it brings stability, but then again, substantive justice is taken away. Okay. Critics argue that judges who prioritize consistency over correction become architects of stagnation. So they feel that the judges who are, they are the critics. Okay. They feel that judges who prioritize consistency, which means stare decisis, right? If they prioritize that, then they are nothing but architects of stagnation. What is stagnation? Something which is stuck, right? Yet the alternative, a judiciary that treats every case as tabula rasa, would invite a chaotic landscape of ad hocism, right? Where legal outcomes depend more on judges' personal leanings, right, than on established norms. So, in that case, if it is a tabula rasa, it would believe or it would work on judges' personal leanings, right? So, whatever his intentions, his uh, like how he is aligned to this, fine, it would be. But then again, it would be a very chaotic landscape, right? It would be very confusing. The challenge, therefore, lies in navigating the narrow corridor between blind adherence to the past and the reckless abandonment of legal certainty. Fine. So it says that we have to come to a middle path. Fine. Okay. So tabula rasa, they are giving the meaning. If you look at it, Anshu, it says where legal outcomes depend more on a judge's personal leanings than on established norms. Okay. Fine. First one. Which of the following best expresses the central tension described in the passage? Okay, now let's see what are the options given across, and then accordingly we'll try to eliminate. Okay, the first one says the conflict, just a sec, yeah, the conflict between the legislative branch and the judicial branch in creating laws. In creating laws, no, definitely not. So yes, of course, judicial is written across, laws is written across, creating is written across, legislative might not be written. Was it reckless, legal, judiciary? Okay, fine. So not all the words are written across, but some words are written across, and it might make you feel that this is the answer because it has those words, but it is not. We are not going to consider it because this is totally out of scope, right? There is definitely a conflict, yes, but it is not between the legislative branch and the judicial branch, right? Let's go across with the B part. So, B part says what? The B part says the struggle to balance legal predictability with the need for social relevance, right? Okay, so social relevance, yes, we were talking about that. Legal predictability, they were talking about how legal predictability, because at first people were working on the predictability itself, right? Whatever would predicting, right? Yeah, here it is in the third line itself, predictable legal tapestry system, right? So there is a struggle to balance it. They want to balance it as per the social relevance, right? So yes, B part can be kept. Okay. C part. The historical debate regarding the superiority of common law over civil law. irrelevant. It is again out of scope. C part goes away. D part, the ethical dilemma of judges, right? Ethical dilemma of the judges. Of course, there is ethical dilemma who must choose between personal morality and the letter of the law. So yes, okay. So this is what it is. It is talking about something to do with um, personal leanings were there, right? So that was there, okay. But it is nothing to do with personal morality. They might have a leaning out there, but personal morality is not something which was mentioned out there. And D part, therefore, is which one? It is more or less something to do with half right and half wrong. Okay, half right, and I don't need a half right answer, so I can easily remove this. My answer will be B. Fine. Has everyone understood how we go across? D is not. B has the potential to be answered. Very good, Anushka. Okay, okay, fine. No, D is not. I hope, Anshu, you have understood. Let's move on to the next question now. This time, I want you to try this, and then I'll come across to the. Then we'll discuss how to go about with this. And your answer is C. That was very well done. Okay, fine. So A, Anshu, can you tell me what kind of trap is A? Attempt to rewrite the. So the question says the author uses the phrase architects of stagnation to describe judges who dash A part. Attempt to rewrite the constitution to fit modern trends. Can this be my answer? If I want to remove this, what kind of trap is this? So I would call it almost like it should be opposite trap, right? It is just talking about the opposite. Stagnation meant very good, Anshu. Though it's again in Hindi, but never mind. Yes. So it says rewrite the constitution, but these are the people who are architects of stagnation, right? So definitely it cannot be that they want to rewrite it. So therefore it is just the opposite. A part goes away. B part says refuse to follow the doctrine of stare decisis under any circumstances, right? Refuse to follow the doctrine of stare decisis under any circumstances. But then again, they are the people who actually follow what the whatever was archaic going across, right? And moreover, it is also written as any circumstances. Any circumstances is again an extreme thought process. So therefore, this cannot be my answer. This is another trap. C says prioritize the literal following of past rulings over the pursuit of actual. Very good. Yes, Anshu, that's the right thought process. Right, let's move on to the C part. Prioritize the literal following of past rulings, right? Archaic rulings over the pursuit of actual justice. So instead of going across with actual justice, what should be done? They are just literally following the past rulings. And this part was actually happening. And that's why they were called as architects of stagnation. And that's why I can keep C part. Okay. D. lack the formal training required to understand complex legal tapestries. This is totally lacking the formal training is like totally out of scope. And though they have written across complex legal tapestries and other stuff to just to, distort you, just to confuse you, so this is actually out of scope, right? Better? Okay. So yes, the right answer out here is going to be C. Very good. B is irrelevant. Yes. Now comes the last question for the day. Let's see what we can do. Based on the passage, what would be the likely result of treating every case as a tabula rasa? So what would it be? Based on the passage, what would be the likely result of treating every case as tabula? Okay, fine. So this one is quite analogical question. What they are trying to say is what would be the likely result of treating every case as a tabula rasa? So first thing first, you must see what is tabula rasa. Tabula rasa would invite a chaotic landscape of ad hocism. Forget about this, where legal outcomes depend more on judges' personal leanings than on established norms. Keeping that in mind, tell me, what would you think should the answer be? So the meaning is almost given across out here. Keep that in mind and see what should be the answer. Okay, so Anshu, you want to go with C? Did you do the elimination? Chalo, let's try this out. The first one is, it says, a more equitable system where every individual receives a unique tailored judgment. Fine. It says where legal outcomes depend more on judges' personal leanings than on established norms. And somehow, in our heart of a heart, I would keep A because it says a more equitable system. Because stare decisis, I've already started thinking negative about it. That how is it possible that some previous case is going to work for any other case, right? So that's why A is somewhat, you know, looks beautiful. Okay. B part, the eventual disappearance of the need for a formal legal education. Excuse me. That is totally opposite, right? We have to have the learning part, we have to have the education part. So B part is wrong. A shift towards a fossilized system that cannot adapt to new social norms, but that cannot be tabula rasa. That would be again just the opposite, right? Just the opposite. So C part goes away. B part is more of, as I said, it is out of scope, right? Let's read the D part. A state of unpredictability. See, chaos. Where the law loses its objective foundation. Objective is like fact based, right? Something which is totally based on no emotions, no nothing, just information. Previously this happened, okay, so this even this time it is going to happen the same way, right? So D part is actually talking about what a state of unpredictability, where the law will lose its objective foundation. So it is not going to work upon the previous norms. It is going to come across with a new thought process. So D part is can be kept and A part was already beautiful. So which one would I go across with? So don't go for what your heart says. It is what your mind says. Heart would say like a more equitable system, but it never said that yes, it is going to be an equitable system, right? It simply said that yes, there is another way of going about with this. Rather, at the end, the author said that we have to find something between these two things, right? So I cannot call tabula rasa to be the equitable system. So A part cannot be my answer. The better answer is D, that it would be a chaotic way where the law would lose its objective foundation and it will go on and do the things as per something else. Yeah, means bias kind of decision, right? Somewhat, yes, somewhat. Where the person is going across as per his thought process, right? As per the society's thought process. Fine. So, as you can see, these are the type of questions that I'm going to bring across, and I'm going to bring across a lot of them. So, be ready where we can practice a lot and make sure that we hit all the right answers. Fine. Thank you for having me today. Meet you very soon. Thank you.